Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel at the anchor desk with my partner Clark Kellogg, bringing you the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. Here are the Big Five, the top teams in the country as we begin the season. The Ohio State Buckeyes come in as the #1 ranked team, followed by Florida, Michigan State, Syracuse, and Duke. So, Clark, what's your initial impression of our top 5 teams?
I like the potential of each of these teams. I think all of them have a chance to win the championship this year. They're poised, loaded with talent, hungry, and very eager to prove themselves this coming year. I think each of these teams would be a dream to coach.
The Ohio State Buckeyes are projected as the favorites here in the early going. They wrapped up their season last year with a trip to the Sweet 16, but it ended there.
A similar result this year probably won't satisfy them. They've got the potential to go a step beyond the Sweet 16, so just getting back there is going to be a disappointment, not an achievement.
Florida is in the #2 spot. One bit of good news for them, they have last season's leading rebounder coming back for another year.
With that low post presence already established, they'll have a little bit of swagger heading into the season. I look for them to be sharp right from the start.
Michigan State comes in as #3. They were unstoppable last season, finishing with 26 wins.
Winning that many games again is going to be extremely difficult, no matter how much talent they have. Not many teams play that many games, never mind win that many. They'll be on the verge of dynasty status if they repeat that performance.
Syracuse starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball, but with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
Duke is the #5 team. They are a very strong team, but they have plenty of competition from within their own league.
Their regular season is going to be a melee with all the other tough teams in the conference. The key for them to survive is going to be consistency. They can't afford to drop any easy games.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
We've seen so many eventual champions that were ranked in the middle of the pack during preseason that these teams have to like their chances. It's not where you start, it's where you finish that counts.
The Alabama Crimson Tide, the #9 team, have stirred up a lot of talk in the offseason. They'll be trying to build on last season's regular season conference championship.
No matter how many different pieces they have this year as compared to last, they'll go into this season with the attitude of we're the champs, and if you want the crown, you've got to go through us.
The Maryland Terrapins, the #6 team, have also generated a lot of interest. They're going to have to find someone to fill the void left by their departed leading scorer, Clark.
The important thing for them is not to thrust someone into that role just for the sake of it. It will be a much smoother transition if the players are allowed to ease into their new spots.
Okay, Clark, let's take a look at the teams that close out the preseason top 25 poll. How about this list?
The difference between this group and the previous group is depth, plain and simple. They can match up with anybody at the start of the game, but due to a short bench, they just won't be able to keep up through the end.
The Cincinnati Bearcats, the #18 team, probably deserve a closer look. They lost a big piece of their team with the departure of last season's leading rebounder.
It's going to have to be a group effort on the boards for a little while until some of the younger big men get the confidence to hold their own game in and game out.
The Villanova Wildcats, the #22 team, are also worth keeping an eye on. They carry over 3 starters from last year, so there shouldn't be too much of a learning curve for this team.
Yeah, they've got the core of that team coming back, and that's going to be huge for them. There won't be much of the feeling out process that so many other teams will have to work through early in the season.
As usual, we have a lot of new coaching hires to tell you about as we start the season. Here are the coaches who made a change this offseason. Some very interesting moves on the list, to say the least. The Maryland coach is one of the hires that drew a lot of media attention. The Maryland Terrapins have a lot of fans that are delighted to have a coach of his ability, Clark.
This is a big break for him. He's paid his dues with a lot of stops along the coaching highway, and now it's time for a new beginning. We wish him all the success in the world, Greg. He definitely deserves a fair shot.
The Oregon State coach also made a move to a new school, and that's generated some excitement on that campus. The Oregon State Beavers are a team looking to rebuild under their new leader.
It'll be a little strange to see him on another school's sideline. He's been with his last program so long, he'll have to make some big adjustments to get comfortable on campus.
We now head to the part of the show where we break down the top players in the nation and show you our preseason All-American list. What you see before you is the cream of the crop in college hoops. What a list. The Duke Blue Devils are going to ask this young man to carry the load for them all season, Clark.
Taylor is the first player on the list for good reason. He's got a mean streak running through him, and that's exactly what you need to be a dominant rebounder like he is. He's the leading rebounder on his team, and he relishes that role.
As for our next first-teamer, Duke is more than willing to go into battle with him, Clark.
Peyton is simply a spectacular player. He's a former high school Mr. Basketball he was North Carolina's Mr. Basketball in high school. He's a hero in his home state, and he hasn't let those fans down. He's taken his game to the next level and improved as the competition has gotten stiffer.
Next up is a player that's drawing comparisons to some of the all-time college greats. The Duke Blue Devils are fortunate to have him in their corner.
Nicholas is one of my favorite players in the country. Feels like this guy's been playing college basketball forever. This will be his 4th year as a starter, but I still don't take him for granted, and I think this will be his best season of all of them.
Let's move on to a player who's worked very hard to earn his spot on the list. The Kentucky Wildcats can depend on a solid effort from him each and every night.
Styles is going to play a huge role in his team's success. He was a multiple threat on the offensive end of the court last season, and there will be more of the same this time around. He led his team in scoring, and it's a lock that he'll do it again.
And finally, we have another superb player to round out the first team. The Ohio State Buckeyes will probably get used to seeing him make the impossible look ordinary.
Ireland is going to have his own personal highlight reel by the end of this season. If I had to pick some frontrunners for the Player of the Year award, he would be right there on the list. I've seen him take over games even when he isn't scoring 30. There are some great scorers among these All-Americans, and he's one of them, but he does much more than score.
Now let's move on to the second team All-Americans. Not such a bad list, huh? These elite players all have the potential to have historic seasons if the right pieces fall into place. The Florida Gators have built their team around this young man's talent. I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
Lloyd was close to a spot on the first team, but there was too much competition this season.
His impact on a game isn't limited to his defense and scoring. Perhaps his biggest role is that of dime dropper. He led his team in assists last season, and his ability to distribute makes him even more dangerous.
The next player on the team is a sensational player in his own right. Alabama is in for a treat if he can pull it all together and have a great year.
Law is in the spotlight for all the right reasons. He made his conference all-freshman team last season, so he's already proven to the nation and to himself that he belongs on this level. This season, it's no longer about proving he belongs, but proving he's among the best of the best.
We can all look forward to some very exciting highlights from this young man this year. The Kentucky Wildcats are looking for a lot of production from him, and they probably won't be disappointed.
Joins
is at the crux of his team's postseason hopes.
It isn't out of the realm of possibility to say that he might even be a little bit underrated. I know it seems far-fetched to say that about a preseason All-American pick, but I'm not sure people realize just what a huge year he's in for, Greg.
Our next All-American may have designs on the first team by the end of the season. Kansas has one of the most reliable go-to guys in the country in him.
Horton is one of the great talents in the college game today. There's plenty to like about him as a player. He's got that deadly combination of smarts and physical skills that makes him so difficult to defend. A coach's mentality in the body of a world-class athlete. Any questions as to why he's on the list?
And here we have the final player on our list of All-Americans, the Stanford Cardinal. Know who their fan favorite is going to be this year.
Luz is ready to have a breakout season.
He was a monster on the glass last season.
He came away with an average of 5 rebounds a game.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him match those numbers again this year. He has a knack for finding the loose ball.
All right, Clark, that should do it for us here in the studio. For myself and all of us here at 2K Sports, thanks for watching our season preview. Enjoy all the college hoops action to come.